SOS to Earth. Humanity's Deathworlders answer without mercy. The distress signal crackled through the void of space, a desperate plea transmitted across 17 star systems before finally reaching the outer monitoring stations of Earth's defense network. Communications Officer Sarah Chen sat up straighter in her chair as the automated translation systems worked to decode the alien message. "What the hell is this?" she muttered, watching streams of data flow across her multiple screens. The signal was unlike anything in their databases, but the universal distress markers were unmistakable. Someone, somewhere, was dying. The translation came through in choppy, broken segments. "This is research vessel, peaceful dawn, under attack by Vorthak swarm, colony ships destroyed, requesting immediate assistance. Coordinates attached. We are the last children aboard." Sarah's blood ran cold. She had been monitoring space communications for 12 years, ever since humanity had made first contact with the Galactic Council. The message was coming from the Kepler 442 system, nearly 40 light-years from Earth. By the time any help could arrive through conventional means, whatever was happening would be long over. But Earth had stopped using conventional means 3 years ago. She immediately patched the signal through to Admiral Harrison's office. Within minutes, alarms were blaring throughout the Terran Defense Command Center. Harrison himself appeared on her screen, his weathered face grim with determination. "Chen, tell me you have a clean translation of that message," he growled, his cybernetic eye glowing blue as it interfaced directly with the ship's computer systems. "Yes, sir. Unknown species under attack by something called the Vorthak swarm. Colony ships destroyed, children involved. The transmission is coming from coordinates in the Kepler 442 system." Harrison was quiet for a moment, processing the information. The Galactic Council had strict non-interference policies when it came to conflicts between member species. Humanity had joined the Council only 5 years ago, and their representatives had made it clear that Earth was expected to follow these rules without question. "Any response from Council forces?" Harrison asked, though he already knew the answer. "Negative, sir. The nearest Council patrol is 12 parsecs away and moving in the opposite direction. Estimated arrival time would be 6 months minimum." 6 months. Harrison closed his eyes briefly. In 6 months, there would be nothing left to save but memories and corpse-filled ships drifting through the void. The Council's bureaucracy moved at a glacial pace, their committees and subcommittees requiring extensive deliberation before authorizing any military action. It was a system designed by species who had never known true desperation, never faced extinction at the hands of merciless predators. Humanity was different. Earth was what the Council politely called a death world, a planet so hostile that its dominant species had evolved into something the rest of the galaxy found deeply unsettling. Where other species had developed diplomacy and patience over millions of years of evolution, humans had developed pack hunting, persistence predation, and an almost pathological inability to abandon their own. "Sir?" Chen's voice brought him back to the present. "What are your orders?" Harrison made a decision that would change everything. "Patch me through to Captain Rodriguez on the Reaper's Edge. Full emergency authorization." The Reaper's Edge was humanity's most advanced warship, equipped with the latest quantum fold engines that could cross vast distances in mere days rather than decades. It was also equipped with something else, a crew of humans who had volunteered for the most dangerous missions the galaxy had to offer. Captain Elena Rodriguez appeared on screen within seconds, her scarred face betraying no emotion as she received her briefings. Behind her, Harrison could see the bridge of the Reaper's Edge, its crew already moving with the practiced efficiency that had made human warships legendary throughout Council space. "Captain, we have a situation. Unknown species under attack by hostile forces in the Kepler 442 system. Children involved. Council response time is unacceptable." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "Understood, Admiral. What are our rules of engagement? There are no rules, Elena. These Vorthak things are killing children. You know what that means. A cold smile spread across Rodriguez's face. Every human in the defense command did know what that meant. There was an unspoken law among humans, something that went deeper than military regulations or political treaties. You did not harm children and expect to live. It was a law written in blood and bone, carved into human DNA by millions of years of evolution on a world that had tried to kill them in every possible way. Prep the ship for immediate fold jump, Rodriguez ordered her crew. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. Admiral Harrison watched as the Reaper's Edge began its preparation sequence. Around him, the Defense Command Center buzzed with activity as other ships received their orders. The Council could complain later about unauthorized military action. Right now, someone was crying for help, and humans had never been very good at ignoring cries for help. "Sir," Chen called out, "I'm detecting additional transmissions from the system. It's getting worse. They're talking about orbital bombardment now. Something about meat processing stations being set up on the colony worlds." Harrison's jaw clenched. The Vorthak weren't just attacking, they were harvesting. Turning thinking beings into food was considered one of the greatest taboos in galactic civilization, something so barbaric that even the most warlike species found it revolting. But humans knew better than most that the universe didn't care about taboos. "Rodriguez, did you copy that last transmission?" "We copied everything, Admiral. And sir, my crew is requesting permission to go weapons-free the moment we drop out of fold space." "Permission granted. Elena, I want you to understand something. This is not a council peacekeeping mission. This is not a diplomatic intervention. These things are eating children. You know what humans do to predators that hunt our young?" "Yes, sir. We hunt them right back, and we're much better at it." The quantum fold engines of the Reaper's Edge began to spin up, creating a low harmonic hum that vibrated through the ship's hull. On the bridge, Rodriguez looked out at the stars that would soon blur into lines as they folded space itself to cross the impossible distance to Kepler 442. Her crew was ready. They had trained for this moment their entire careers, even if they hadn't known it at the time. Every human military doctrine, every tactic and strategy developed in their bloody history had led to this point. They were about to introduce the galaxy to something it had never seen before, humans protecting their own. In the communications bay, Sarah Chen continued monitoring the desperate transmissions from the distant system. The voices were getting weaker, more panicked. But now there was something else mixed in with the fear. Hope. Word was spreading somehow that help was coming, that someone had heard their call. They didn't know yet that the someone was human. They didn't know that they had just activated the most dangerous rescue instinct in the known galaxy. They didn't know that 40 light-years away, a ship full of Deathworld predators was coming to answer their call, and that mercy was the last thing on their minds. The Vorthak swarm was about to learn why the rest of the galaxy whispered when they talked about Earth and its children. They were about to discover what happened when something threatened the pack. As the Reaper's Edge disappeared into fold space, racing toward a distant star system where horrors beyond imagination were unfolding, Admiral Harrison settled back in his command chair and did something that would have terrified any council observer who might have been watching. He smiled. SOS to Earth. Humanity's Deathworlders answer without mercy. The Reaper's Edge dropped out of fold space at the edge of the Kepler 442 system like a predator emerging from tall grass. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge, watching the tactical displays populate with data that made her stomach turn. The system was a slaughterhouse. "Talk to me, Williams," she said to her sensor operator. Lieutenant Williams's hands flew over his console, his face pale as the readings came in. "Captain, I'm counting 14 destroyed ships. Make that 15. Most are civilian transports, but I'm seeing at least 3 defensive frigates in the debris field." "Survivors?" "Scanning now." Jesus Christ. Captain, there are life pods everywhere, but they're not broadcasting. I think they're being collected. Rodriguez stepped closer to the main display, watching the small blips that represented escape pods being systematically gathered by larger vessels. The ships doing the collecting were unlike anything in human databases, organic-looking things with flowing lines and what appeared to be feeding tubes extending from their hulls. "That's the Vorthax swarm," said Commander Nash, her executive officer. "Intelligence briefing says they're a hive mind species that considers all other life forms to be food sources. They don't take prisoners, Captain. They take meals." The bridge fell silent except for the low hum of ship systems. Every human aboard the Reaper's Edge was processing the same terrible reality. Somewhere in those alien ships were children waiting to die in ways that their nightmares couldn't imagine. "Weapon status," Rodriguez ordered, her voice carrying an edge that her crew had learned to recognize. "All systems green, Captain. Plasma cannons charged, missile tubes loaded, point defense ready. The new quantum torpedoes are online and armed." Rodriguez nodded. The quantum torpedoes were humanity's latest innovation, weapons that could phase through most known shield technologies and detonate directly inside enemy ships. The Galactic Council had expressed deep concerns about such destructive technology, worried about the implications of weapons that could ignore conventional defenses. They had asked humanity to limit their development and deployment. Humanity had politely declined. "Communications. Are you picking up any survivors?" "Yes, ma'am. I've got 17 different signals from what appears to be a research vessel called the Peaceful Dawn. They're hiding in the asteroid belt, but their power is failing. Estimated life support remaining is 8 hours, maybe 10 if they shut down everything non-essential." "And the Vorthac?" 3 large harvester ships, plus approximately 30 smaller attack craft. Captain, the harvesters they're each the size of a small city. Our ship is powerful, but we're seriously outnumbered." Rodriguez looked around at her crew. These were volunteers, every one of them. They had signed up knowing that missions like this were possible, knowing that humanity's role in the galaxy sometimes meant standing alone against impossible odds. She could see the determination in their faces, the cold anger that came from seeing predators threaten the innocent. "Nash, remind me what the standard council response protocol is for this situation." Her executive officer consulted his tablet with an expression of disgust. "Establish communication with the attacking force, attempt to negotiate a ceasefire, file a formal complaint with the Galactic Trade Commission, and request a full council investigation. Estimated response time for the investigation committee is 6 to 8 months. And how many children will be dead by then?" "All of them, Captain." Rodriguez walked to the captain's chair and settled into it, feeling the familiar weight of command. Around her, the bridge crew waited for orders. In her mind, she could hear the voices from the research vessel, growing weaker with each transmission. She thought about her own children back on Earth, safe in their schools, playing in parks that had been carved from the hostile wilderness of humanity's death world home. "All right, people. Here's what we're going to do. The Council wants us to follow protocol, but the Council isn't here. There are children dying in those ships, and I don't give a damn about diplomatic consequences. Williams, I want a full tactical analysis of those harvesters. Find me their weak points." "Captain," Williams said, his voice excited, "I'm detecting massive power signatures from the harvesters, but their designs are inefficient. It's like they prioritized intimidation over actual defensive capability. Their shield generators are external, probably for easier feeding tube access." "Feeding tubes?" "Ma'am, it appears they use those appendages to drain resources from captured ships while keeping the occupants alive. Maximum freshness for consumption." The temperature on the bridge seemed to drop several degrees. Rodriguez felt something dark and primal stirring in her chest, something that connected her to every human warrior who had ever faced down a predator threatening their tribe. Target those shield generators first. Nash, prepare boarding parties. I want every Marine we have ready for close quarters combat. Boarding parties, Captain? Nash looked confused. Wouldn't it be more efficient to simply destroy the harvesters? Rodriguez shook her head. We're not just here to stop them, Commander. We're here to rescue survivors. And besides, she paused, her expression becoming something that would have given nightmares to any Vorthak unfortunate enough to see it. I want them to know exactly who's coming for them before they die. The Reaper's Edge began its approach toward the harvest fleet, engines running silent to avoid early detection. The human ship was smaller than any of the Vorthak vessels, but it moved with a predatory grace that spoke to millions of years of evolution. Where the alien ships drifted in loose formations, confident in their overwhelming numbers, the human vessels stalked through the asteroid field like a shark through a school of fish. On the peaceful dawn, the survivors huddled in their failing ship and watched their sensor displays with growing amazement. The human ship wasn't retreating or attempting to negotiate, it was hunting. "This is impossible," whispered Dr. Kethrel, the expedition's chief xenobiologist. "One ship against an entire harvest fleet? The humans must not understand what they're facing." But Research Director Yalnis, one of the few council representatives who had spent time on Earth, knew better. She had seen human cities, had walked among humanity's children in their schools and playgrounds. She had watched human parents with their young and had witnessed something that made every other species in the galaxy deeply uncomfortable. "No," she said quietly. "They understand perfectly. They know exactly what the Vorthak do to children." On the bridge of the Reaper's Edge, Rodriguez watched the distance close between her ship and the nearest harvester. The alien vessel was 3 times the size of her ship, its hull covered in grotesque feeding apparatus and studded with weapon ports. It looked like something out of humanity's darkest nightmares, a creature designed to inspire terror and despair. It had made a serious mistake, though. It had threatened children while humans were listening. "All hands, this is the captain," Rodriguez announced over the ship's communication system. "In 60 seconds, we're going to show these things what happens when something hunts human young. Remember your training, remember why we're here, and remember that there are kids counting on us. Make Earth proud." The Reaper's Edge emerged from the asteroid field like a bullet from a gun, quantum torpedoes already launching toward the harvester's exposed shield generators. The first the Vorthak knew of the attack was when their primary defenses simply ceased to exist, blown apart by weapons that materialized inside their shield matrix without warning. The harvest fleet suddenly found itself under attack by something they had never encountered before, humans defending their young. And as every predator in Earth's history had eventually learned, that was a very dangerous thing to threaten. SOS to Earth. Humanity's Deathworlders answer without mercy. The first harvester died in less than 3 minutes. Captain Rodriguez watched the massive alien vessel break apart under the relentless barrage from her ship's weapon systems, but felt no satisfaction. Each second that passed meant more children were suffering aboard the remaining harvesters. The Reaper's Edge had caught the Vorthak completely off guard. But surprise would only last so long. "Second harvester is turning to engage," Williams reported, his voice tight with concentration. "I'm reading massive power buildup from their main weapons array. Captain, those look like disruptor cannons. They're designed to disable rather than destroy." "They want to take us alive," Nash said grimly. "Add us to their collection." Rodriguez's smile was sharp enough to cut steel. "They're welcome to try. Helm, evasive pattern Delta. Take us through the debris field from the first harvester. Let's see how well they can track us through their own wreckage." The human ship dove toward the expanding cloud of alien debris, moving with an agility that defied its size. The Vorthak disruptor beams lanced through space where the Reaper's Edge had been moments before, striking nothing but empty vacuum and fragments of destroyed harvester hull. "Boarding parties report ready," announced Sergeant Major Harrison over the comm. "Marines are locked and loaded, Captain. Just get us close enough." Rodriguez nodded. The plan was insane by Council standards, attempting to board a ship hundreds of times larger than their own while under fire from an entire fleet. But human military doctrine had never been particularly concerned with what others considered sensible. When your species evolved by hunting creatures larger and more dangerous than themselves, you learned to think differently about impossible odds. "Williams, what's the status on survivor signals?" "Still detecting life signs aboard both remaining harvesters, Captain, but—" Williams paused, his face pale. "Ma'am, I'm picking up something else. The harvesters are broadcasting on a frequency that appears to be feeding instructions. They're coordinating the processing of survivors." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of weapons systems charging for another attack run. Every human aboard the Reaper's Edge was processing the same horrible realization. They were racing not just against time, but against an alien species that was systematically butchering children while they fought. "Captain," Communications Officer Torres spoke up, her voice carefully controlled. "I've managed to break into their communication network. The Vorthak they're confused. Their tactical databases show humans as non-threatening prey species with minimal military capability and poor coordination under stress." Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "Is that what the Council told them?" "Apparently so, ma'am. The Galactic Council classified humanity as a developing species with limited technological advancement and pacifist tendencies." Nash snorted. "Pacifist tendencies. Right. How's that working out for them so far?" The second harvester exploded in a brilliant flash of plasma as the Reaper's Edge's quantum torpedoes found their mark. But even as the alien ship died, the third and largest harvester was moving, its escort fighters spreading out in attack formation. This one was different from the others, more heavily armored, with weapon systems that looked far more sophisticated. "Command ship," Williams identified. "That's where the Hive Queen will be. Captain, if we can take out their central command, the smaller ships might become disoriented." Rodriguez studied the tactical display. The command harvester was the size of a small space station, bristling with weapons and surrounded by 30 attack craft. In any reasonable tactical analysis, a single human ship would have no chance against such odds. Fortunately, humans had never been particularly reasonable. "All hands, prepare for close assault. We're going straight down their throat." The Reaper's Edge accelerated toward the command harvester, weapons firing continuously. Human plasma cannons tore through Vorthak fighters, while point defense systems created a protective barrier of exploding projectiles. The alien ships returned fire with everything they had, but something was wrong with their aim. Where human weapons found their targets with lethal precision, Vorthak disruptor beams seemed to consistently miss by narrow margins. "Captain," Williams called out excitedly, "I think I know why they can't hit us. Their targeting systems are designed for prey that tries to flee or hide. They don't know how to handle something that's actively hunting them." Rodriguez felt a surge of savage satisfaction. The Vorthak had spent millennia terrorizing species that ran when attacked, that tried to negotiate or surrender when faced with superior numbers. They had never encountered anything like humans. Predators who became more dangerous when cornered, who fought harder when protecting their young. "Boarding range in 30 seconds, Nash announced. "Magnetic grapples ready." "Do it!" The human ship slammed into the side of the harvester like a guided missile. Magnetic clamps biting deep into alien hull plating. Explosive charges detonated along the contact points, blowing holes through the harvester's armor and creating entry points for the boarding parties. Sergeant Major Harrison led the charge into the alien ship, his Marines following with weapons raised and expressions that would have terrified any rational being. They moved through the harvester's corridors, like wolves through a slaughterhouse, following the sound of screaming toward whatever horrors lay deeper in the ship. The Vorthak they encountered died quickly and efficiently. Human weapons had been designed to kill quickly on a world where hesitation meant death, and the aliens' natural armor was no match for projectiles designed to penetrate the hide of Earth's megafauna. But more importantly, the Marines fought with a focused fury that the hive-minded Vorthak couldn't comprehend. "Captain," Harrison's voice came through the comm, tight with controlled rage. "We've found the processing chambers. Jesus Christ! Captain, we need medical teams down here immediately. Some of these kids are still alive, but barely." Rodriguez closed her eyes briefly, then opened them with renewed determination. "Copy that, Sergeant Major. Medical teams are on their way. How many survivors?" "Dozens, ma'am. Maybe more. And Captain, we found something else. Databanks showing other harvests. This isn't their first raid. They've been doing this for decades." The captain's hands clenched into fists. Around her, the bridge crew worked with grim efficiency, but she could see the anger in their faces. The Vorthak hadn't just threatened children, they had been systematically hunting them across multiple star systems, while the Galactic Council filed reports and scheduled committee meetings. "Harrison, secure those databanks. I want everything they have on previous raids. And Sergeant Major?" "Yes, ma'am." "Take the Queen alive if you can. Dead if you can't. But I want answers before this is over." The battle for the command harvester was brief and brutal. The Vorthak fought with the desperate fury of creatures who finally understood that they were facing something deadlier than themselves. But it was too late. Human Marines moved through their ship like a force of nature, rescuing survivors and eliminating threats with equal efficiency. When Sergeant Major Harrison finally reached the central command chamber, he found the Hive Queen surrounded by her remaining guards. She was massive, easily 3 times the size of a human, with multiple feeding appendages and sensor organs that tracked his approach with obvious fear. "You!" she spoke through a translator, her voice a mixture of buzzing sounds and electronic whines. "You are human. The council data said you were harmless prey." Harrison shouldered his weapon, looking at the creature that had ordered the deaths of countless children. "Yeah, well, the council never saw us when something threatens our kids. You made a serious mistake when you started hunting human young. We hunt all young. It is our nature. You cannot change what we are." The Sergeant Major's expression was colder than deep space. "We're not here to change you. We're here to end you." 6 hours later, the Reaper's Edge departed the Kepler 442 system with 237 survivors aboard, including 43 children who would live to see their families again. Behind them, the remains of the Vorthak harvest fleet drifted in expanding debris clouds, a warning to anything else that might consider hunting the innocent. Captain Rodriguez stood in the ship's medical bay, watching human doctors work alongside alien medics to save lives. The survivors looked at the human crew with a mixture of gratitude and amazement, still unable to fully comprehend what had happened. "Captain?" Dr. Kethrill approached her hesitantly. "I wanted to thank you. What you did. What your people did. It was incredible. But I must ask, won't there be consequences?" "The Council will not approve of this unauthorized action." Rodriguez looked at the alien scientist with the patient expression of someone explaining something obvious to a child. "Doctor, let me tell you something about humans. We've been dealing with consequences our entire history. Our planet tried to kill us for millions of years, and we survived by learning one simple truth. Some things are more important than consequences." "Such as?" The captain gestured toward the medical beds where alien children were slowly recovering from their ordeal. "Such as making sure that children get to grow up. Such as proving that some things in this universe are worth fighting for, regardless of the cost." 3 weeks later, Admiral Harrison sat in his office on Earth, reading reports from the Galactic Council. As expected, there had been formal complaints, diplomatic protests, and demands for explanations. The Council was deeply disturbed by humanity's unauthorized military action and excessive use of force. They were also quietly asking Earth to handle 3 more similar situations that had emerged in distant star systems. Harrison smiled as he approved the deployment orders. The galaxy was learning a simple truth that Earth had known for millions of years. Sometimes the only thing that could stop a predator was a bigger predator. And when it came to protecting their young, humans were the biggest predators the universe had ever seen. The Vorthak swarm would never threaten another child. Word was spreading through the criminal networks of the galaxy about what happened when humans heard a cry for help. And on a small research vessel orbiting a distant star, alien children played games and laughed, alive because someone 40 light-years away had decided that some things were worth any price. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth's children slept safely at night. It was because their parents were the things that monsters feared in the dark.